What up, everybody? It's the Rottweiler Patriots. I'm Vegas,
And I'm T-Bone.
and we're coming at you with another video today where we're going to be doing our wild card round game predictions featuring special guest Shadow.
What's up, y'all? Thank you to T-Bone and Vegas for having me on this episode.
Of course.
Shadow
Pleasure for me.
is our residential Steelers fan, so he'll be representing
Rollberg, baby!
Steelers fandom. I'm sure y'all will see him again in the future.
Of course.
I hope so.
But with that being said, let's jump into this one. First things first, last week I went 10-6. T-Bone went 11-5. So T-Bone able to come back, tie the game. That'll bring both of our totals up to 164-108. So tied after every single regular season had been played. All 272 games, had been played. We're tied, which means there's a lot riding on what happens in the playoffs. We are competing over the course of the entire season. If you'd like to compete alongside with us, feel free to do so. And with that being said, let's jump into this one. Starting off with our first playoff matchup, we've got ourselves the Houston Texans hosting the Cleveland Browns. The Texans able to get a win over the Indianapolis Colts, and with the Jacksonville Jaguars falling to the Tennessee Titans in an upset loss, the Texans win the AFC South and will be hosting the Cleveland Browns. Browns, of course, nothing to play for, already locked up the 5 seed in Week 17, so they're coming off of a blowout loss against the Cincinnati Bengals, but that means that they will be very well rested headed into this one. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Thank you, Vegas. With that in mind, them being very well rested and just looking at that defense, though I do like the rookie connections from the Texans, I just think the Browns are going to win. I just think they're just a better, more complete, put-together team, and I've got them going into Houston and taking care of business.
I also have the Cleveland Browns getting the win. They are playing better football than Houston right now. Despite the success here from Houston, it's been a little bit shaky from them at times. And they've had opportunities where they could have run away with this division a long time ago. Now, granted, all 3 teams that were fighting for it could have. But they've been shaky, and Cleveland really and truly hasn't. Cleveland have been very consistent. Joe Flacco's been excellent. A lot of credit to Kevin Stefanski for what he's doing there. That defense as well, man. The Browns are just a more put-together team, and they're only down here because Baltimore is Baltimore. They actually have a better record than Houston, so I have Cleveland. Alrighty, Shadow, let's get your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I agree with all of y'all. I mean, I'm loving what the Texans are doing over there in Houston. Like, I'm loving how they're rebuilding this program, and I'm loving what C.J. Stroud's doing. Tank Dell, if he was still there, Nico Collins, all of them. They're looking good. I'm happy for them winning the South, but that defense, man, the Browns are just solid, and Joe Flacco is playing good, and I think that experience is what's going to make the Browns win this game.
Absolutely. This is one, though, that I think could get pretty entertaining. The big thing that Houston has going for them is that it's a home game. So that might be an equalizer for them, but regardless, still excited to see what happens in this one. Alrighty, up next, we've got ourselves the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Miami Dolphins on Peacock, which I won't be able to watch, so I won't be able to watch Taylor Swift with the garnish of football. I'm kind of thankful. Anyways, the Chiefs able to get the win last week against the Chargers in rather unconvincing fashion. Really and truly had nothing to play for, given that they were locked in at the 3 seed regardless, but it's not been Kansas City's best year. Obviously won the AFC West largely due to the fact that everyone else in the AFC West is absolutely terrible. Besides Denver, kind of, but they fell off at the end, and there's a whole big deal with Denver. They're kind of falling apart. But regardless, Chiefs win their division and make it to the playoffs yet again. And they're going to take on the Miami Dolphins here, who lost to the Buffalo Bills on the final week of the season, throwing away a massive division lead that they held. It was almost assumed that they would win the division for the vast majority of the season. They were so far ahead, but they completely choked it away at the end, lose to Buffalo in the final week, and now they're going to have to travel into Arrowhead, which is not an easy environment to play in. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I believe that the Dolphins were 10-2 and the Bills were at 6-6, and here they are going into Arrowhead. But that being said, I don't have a lot to go off of. I don't have. This is purely just speculation, and I know how Tua does in cold weather games. But you know what? I'm locking it in. I've got the Dolphins upsetting the Chiefs. I've got it. Give me the Dolphins. No other reason than, I don't know. Surely it's going to be Tyreek Hill's masterclass game, because you know what? Frankfurt wasn't the real revenge game. This is the real revenge game. Give me the Dolphins.
I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning this one. I really and truly don't have a lot of trust for either one of these teams, but I do have more trust for Kansas City than I do Miami. Miami down the stretch just hasn't been very good. Miami has also only beaten one team with a winning record, and that team was Dallas, and that game was very close and had some suspect officiating. So, even with Kansas City's struggles, I think they're probably playing better than Miami right now. And with this game being in Arrowhead, which is such a tough environment to play in for opposing teams, I think that's going to be enough of a difference where Kansas City is going to get the job done against Miami. Alrighty, Shadow, what do you got for us on this one?
First thing I want to say is shout out Tyreek Hill. Single-handedly the reason I won my fantasy league. So thank you, Tyreek Hill. Thank you, Dolphins. But they're not going into Arrowhead into that 19-degree weather, or however cold it's supposed to be. It's like 4 degrees or something, single digits, I think I heard. And they are not going into that weather. And with Jalen Waddle questionable, Raheem Mostert questionable, I have more faith in Patrick Mahomes, Pacheco, and Kelsey than I do Tua. Like, that's just the truth. So as much as I don't want them to win, because I don't want to see Jackson Mahomes and Taylor Swift every single freaking cutaway, I'm with Vegas on this one. I'm going the Chiefs.
Yeah, those cutaways are definitely going to be annoying. One of the reasons why I'm glad this game of all games was picked for Peacock. This is probably the one where I'm okay if I miss it. I don't
think it's going to be great either.
It's I don't know. I'm getting weird vibes from this game for sure, because both teams just aren't trustworthy. But I think Kansas City's got the edge just because Arrowhead. Alrighty, up next we've got ourselves the Buffalo Bills taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bills storm back and take the AFC East from the Miami Dolphins on the final week. Had a rough start to the year, started 6-6. Things were not going well for them, but they completely turned their season around, and they have marched their way straight to the top of the division. So now they'll get to host a playoff game. They're also the 2 seed. Didn't see that coming at the midpoint of the season, that's for sure. And I think that's more of a testament to how bad everyone else is than how good they are. But a lot of credit to Buffalo for they're able to come back. Josh Allen, despite his turnover issues, was able to will this team all the way to this point and now have a pretty easy one against a pretty bad Pittsburgh Steelers team that benefited from the Baltimore Ravens resting all of their best players, and they were still barely able to beat them. But the Steelers limp their way across the finish line and slip into the playoffs as the 7 seed. I mean, no one really was deserving of the 7 seed. This felt like one of those years where, yeah, no, it should have 6 teams in the playoffs, not 7. But the Steelers are the 7 seed. They made it here and playing with house money at this point. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Hey, I like the Steelers. Okay, don't you get a little too aggressive with them.
massive Steelers hater. I hate
Getting
the
a little
Steelers
I
aggressive.
more than
cannot
any
wait till
team.
you say shadow talk. I cannot wait for it.
You're gonna go full Yinzer on us. I can't wait for it either. Okay, I cannot wait for it either. Anyways, T-Bone, continue.
I like 7 seed though. I like 7 seed teams. They're fun. That being said, though, I do think that the Steelers can get the upset because of how the Bills have played this year, and because of Mike Tomlin's beautiful, lovely Pittsburgh magic. I've got the Bills just because I think how they're currently playing and just the momentum they have. I've got them mounting the victory pretty handedly.
I have the Buffalo Bills getting the win as well, simply because the Bills are outright a much better football team than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm actually not that high on Buffalo, but they are much better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Flat out. Steelers are not a good football team, but no one else was, so a bad football team had to be here, and they were the one. So I think they're going to go into Buffalo, and Buffalo is going to wipe the floor with them. Alrighty. Shadow, please
Say it.
entertain us.
One man, 3 words. Michael Penaway Tomlin. I'm telling you, there's some magic he has. The Pittsburgh Steelers with Mason Rudolph, George Pickens, no TJ Watt, no Minka Fitzpatrick. George Pickens, just like Bengals, going to go off 2 tutties, 135, 200 yards. Freaking Najee's going to rush for who knows how much. We're going to run over the Buffalo Bills or get run over. But I'm putting my money on the Berg, baby. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game.
Please note that this is a Steelers fan talking, so we know what the level of delusion we're dealing
All I'm
with.
saying is Vegas said Patriots were a top 10 team at the beginning of
Twice.
this series.
We
so.
played
by the way.
good.
Twice.
We played good in the first 2 games of the season, then everybody got hurt.
Roll Pittsburgh, baby. Roll Berg. Watch it. Pittsburgh, Buffalo is
By
nothing
the
compared to Pittsburgh in the West.
way, how did the Pittsburgh Steelers do against the New England Patriots? Want to remind me about that?
Who's in the playoffs and who's not?
Who's in the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, you can say all you want, but who's in the playoffs? We have Mason Rudolph now. So if we had Mason Rudolph, different game. He's the Nick Foles of 2024.
Both of
Hey,
these
you
teams
can
in the
kill the-
playoffs, we beat both of these teams. I don't know. I don't know.
No. You can
You know
kill the
what?
man, but not the idea.
What about put the Carolina Panthers in at this point?
The Panthers.
No.
The Panthers
we
beat
beat
they beat the Texans. The Falcons was
We
the other one.
did.
The Falcons didn't get in. I love how half of the Patriots wins are against playoff teams and half of the Panthers wins are against playoff teams. Patriots
Well-
also have more wins against above 500 teams than the Miami Dolphins. Just saying. Just saying.
Okay.
I like
All
it.
right. All right.
I love the team spirit. Anyways, yeah, to back on topic, roll Berg, baby. Michael Penaway Tomlin to the moon. We're beating the Bills. Watch it.
Alrighty then. The next matchup we've got for ourselves is the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Green Bay Packers. Cowboys able to get the job done against the Washington Commanders and clinch the division. Eagles fall to the Giants, so it didn't matter anyway, but it did matter for that 2 seed over the Detroit Lions, who were able to win against Minnesota. Had Cowboys lost, they would have won the division, but they would have been the 3 seed. So Cowboys win, secure the 2 seed, and they'll get to take on the Green Bay Packers. Packers with a big win over the Chicago Bears in the final week of the season. The defense stepped up, which is not something I thought I'd ever say for the 2023 Green Bay Packers, because the defense has been the problem with this team. And obviously a team as talented as Dallas is, and with Green Bay playing in Dallas, they're up against it. The Packers, despite Jordan Love, looking pretty good. I got to give the Packers credit for the way they've handled the Jordan Love situation. He's looked really solid this year. He's made some great plays, and I think they've got their guy yet again. I don't know how the Packers keep doing it. It's like dark magic or something. Are they borrowing it from Tomlin, you think?
Possibly.
Anyways, the Packers headed into Jerry World, where they're going to be going up against a very, very good Dallas Cowboys team, playing with house money. T-Bone, what are your thoughts?
Mike McCarthy revenge game. Come on now. So, though I do think the Packers could very well win this on account of Cowboys with that stupid Arizona Cardinal loss and just recent trends in history with how the Cowboys do in the playoffs, how the Cowboys do with the Packers in the playoffs, though it was a catch by Des Bryant. All that being said, all the logic points to the Cowboys. Better offense, better defense, better special teams. Brandon Aubrey, our USFL Stallions kicker, baby. I've got the Cowboys.
I have the Dallas Cowboys getting the win as well. I just think they are a better football team than the Green Bay Packers. They have a better offense and they have a better defense. They have a lot more weapons on offense. Although Green Bay's got a pretty good running game, and if they want to win, they got to figure out a way to get that thing going. That'll open up the field a lot for Jordan Love. And Green Bay's defense going to have to step up in a big way, which I just have a hard time seeing against this talented Cowboys squad. And obviously the Cowboys defense is well led by Micah Parsons. I think it's going to be a tough one for them, so I've got Dallas getting the job done. Alrighty, Shadow, give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, my heart wants to say the Packers. It just does. Like, the Packers' record against the Dallas overall in the playoffs, like T-Bone mentioned, and just, I don't like Dallas, and Dallas chokes in the playoffs, all those shenanigans. But that Dak to CeeDee Lamb connection is looking really solid, and Micah Parsons is always terrifying, and you got Tony Pollard in the back that's due for a breakout game. At home, I got the Cowboys in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people are going to have the Dallas Cowboys in this one. They are definitely a much scarier team, but it's like T-Bone said. The Cowboys also just have weird games where they'll struggle. Now, to be fair to Dallas, even with their kicker, Brett Maher, last year missing umpteen extra points, they were able to pretty handedly dispose of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, despite being the lower seed in that one, so we know they can at least get past the first round against, and that Tampa team I'd say is better than this Green Bay team. So, alrighty, up next we've got ourselves the Detroit Lions taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford returns home to face off against his former team in the playoffs. The Lions obviously clinched the AFC North several weeks ago, able to get the win over the Minnesota Vikings. Unfortunately, Dallas didn't do their job, and so Detroit finishes at the 3 seed, but they've been one of the best teams in the NFL this year, one of the scariest teams to watch. Whereas the Los Angeles Rams, really great start to the year, then had some injury issues, fell off, guys got healthy again, this team came storming back, and they fought their way into the playoffs, despite being in a pretty tough division with two very good teams in San Francisco and Seattle. You know, Seattle just barely missing out thanks to the Packers winning. Regardless, the Rams able to storm their way into the playoffs, riding a lot of momentum. They just beat San Francisco this week, although San Francisco don't have anything to play for. But the Rams have looked like a very, very good team, and this might be the matchup of the entire wild card round. It's looking like it's going to be a very entertaining one. T-Bone, your thoughts?
Listen here. I think the Sam Darnold Carson Wentz game should be studied for centuries. I personally think this is probably going to be the biggest reunion game with Stafford coming back to Detroit. I think it's going to. I personally am the most excited for this game of the wild cards, just because this will either mean Stafford can start going on a run again, or the Lions are going to get their faded playoff win. But I think this is going to be a great game. I think either team could win this with how both of them have played, but I personally like the Lions just a little bit more fully with just their defense, with their offense for the most part. I just think, though both are great teams, so I've got the Lions, though.
I also have the Detroit Lions winning. Now, this is a game that I've just had a really, really tough time getting the pulse on. Like, I don't have a great feel for how this one's going to go, if I'm being honest, because both of these teams are playing so good, you know? Like, we have them both in our top five, I think 4 and 5 in the power rankings for last week, if I recall correctly. And so we know that they're both very, very high-quality teams, but I think it's in Detroit, and I think Detroit is long overdue for a win. I think Dan Campbell is going to lead his troops to victory in the way only Dan Campbell could, and the Detroit Lions are going to get the job done against the Los Angeles Rams. Shadow, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, Vegas, I agree with literally everything y'all have said. Like, this is the game I'm looking forward to. I think this is going to be the best game in the wild card whole weekend. Like, I'm very excited for this game. I think this is going to be a good one. I think this is going to be a close one. I think the two-headed GOAT and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, plus Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta and Aiden Hutchinson playing as well as he is, I think that's too hard to pass up on. So I'm going to go with the Lions on this one. But I'm not going to sit here and act like the Rams aren't a possible sleeper. Like, I can see them making a run, but I do have the Lions, and I do have them getting their playoff win.
Absolutely. I mean, Matthew Stafford's just been so good this year. And the other thing about Los Angeles is the only reason they're the 6th seed is because they had so many injuries in the middle of the year. And that cost them some games. So I think a more accurate representation of this Rams seed is around where the Lions are in terms of record and quality. So really and truly, both teams very good. Honestly, I think whoever wins this game is very likely to go to the conference championship.
I like that take.
So, I don't know. It depends, because Los Angeles will probably run into San Francisco in the second round, so obviously we'll see what happens with them, but because it's not a straight bracket, like my fantasy operator in the NFL system, I would have won my league, but no. Nothing like doing better than the semifinalists in the other game, who are all lower seeds than you, but you got to play the best. You're the highest seed, you got to play the next highest seed, and then Amari Cooper has a 50-point game, and you're out. Yay! Yeah. That was a pleasant week. But regardless, this game looking to be the heaviest hitter of all, and we're really, really excited to see how it goes. And finally, the last wild card matchup is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bucks, despite losing to the Saints in Week 17, able to defeat the Carolina Panthers 9-0 in Week 18 and finish on top of the division, able to get the job done, led by Baker Mayfield, who is having a little bit of a comeback year this year. He's been a little up and down at times, but overall, it's the best year he's had since, I would say, 2021 in Cleveland. He has been pretty solid for them this year. Defense has been pretty solid for Tampa Bay. It's a big reason why they're here. And despite the loss to the Saints, they were generally playing pretty good football towards the tail end of the season. And they're going to be hosting a Philadelphia team who looks like at one point they would be the 1 seed, but they completely collapse, losing back-to-back games to the Arizona Cardinals and the New York Giants to end the season, neither of which are good teams. And this Eagles team is just a massive downward spiral. And there's a big question of whether or not Jalen Hurts is even going to be able to play in this one. So there is just loads of question marks for Philly here. And I think Tampa Bay is sensing a little bit of an opportunity. T-Bone, your thoughts?
I personally think that, God, it's going to suck to say this. Given the finger injury that I am unknown about and how much that they have sputtered to the end and just stumbled, I've got the Bucks getting the upset.
I also have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting the win, even if Jalen Hurts is able to play in this one. With Jalen Hurts, the Philadelphia Eagles were still playing absolutely terrible football. And they just lost to two of the worst teams in the entire NFL. Got absolutely annihilated by a Giants team that has struggled this year. And so, the Eagles just playing as bad as they are, even with Tampa Bay obviously not being the most solid team on planet Earth, I gotta go with Tampa Bay here. Alrighty, Shadow, what are your thoughts on this one?
I completely disagree. Tampa Bay should not be here. Saints are playing better football than them at this moment. And yes, I said it. I said it. But
Saints should have won the division then.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but
Get chippy. Okay.
I think Saints are playing better football. And I like Tampa Bay's offense just I was watching them against the Panthers, they just have not clicked. And neither have the Eagles, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to a playoff scenario, I'm going to take the Eagles. I don't think they're playing well. And yes, they lost to the Cardinals, and yes, they lost to the Giants. But it is a playoff scenario, and I'm taking Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Kelsey and Devontae Smith, if he plays, all of them, over Baker Mayfield. That's just the fact of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty fair take to have. This is definitely one of those games where it's hard to get a good feel for it, because, again, you don't know if Hurts is playing or not. You don't know, like, are the Eagles going to figure it out or not? You don't know which version of Tampa Bay you're going to get, because Tampa Bay has two teams. They have a team that'll show up and play really, really, really good. That's the team we saw against Green Bay. Especially, Baker Mayfield looked amazing against Green Bay. And then there's the team that just looks not very good, you know? And they can be a bit schizophrenic in that way. But I think we're going to get the good version of Tampa Bay here. I think Baker Mayfield especially. He's going to have a lot to play for, a lot to prove. He's going to be able to wag his finger at the Browns and be like, hey, screw you for screwing me. You know, he's going to show he's still got it, which, I mean, I'd love for him. I felt bad for Baker after the Browns royally screwed him over, and I'd love to see him win this one, if I'm being honest.
I would love to see the Buccaneers win. Honestly, like, Philly is just the worst Pennsylvania team. That's just how it is. And I would love
the second worst Pennsylvania team and the third worst team in the NFL.
No, they're the worst Pennsylvania team.
Screw the Steelers. I hate the Steelers. I cannot stand the Steelers. I hate the Steelers more than I hate the Cowboys. That's how much I hate the Steelers.
And they are the worst Pennsylvania team, and they are not playing well. But I would love to see Baker Mayfield get a win. But I feel like it's just in a playoff scenario, it's hard to bet against the Eagles. So that's why I'm going them.
I mean, that's pretty fair. Alrighty, that is going to wrap it up for us. Please be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Feel free to drop your own predictions or anything else you'd like. We would love to hear what you all have to say. And that is going to do it for us today. Thank you all so very much for watching. Please be sure to hit the like button. Please be sure to subscribe. And we will see you all in the next video.